Okay, more dog photos. This one should be pretty easy. A and an. Uh, Again, this is something from your primary school days. It's a problem for some kids and they throw it in also for some international students. You've done it a million times, so you can do this. There's not really a trick to it, but have a look at this fabulous table. So everything's together, apologies, but top line you can see a pen, and below that the exception is if you've got a vowel A-E-I-O-U beginning the word, then we use an. So on the left hand side we've got a pen, an apple, an egg, an ice cream, an orange, an umbrella. There is an exception on the bottom. We'll talk about that, but I don't think they'll throw it at you. Anyway, let's say A is normal, but if you have a vowel beginning A-E-I-O-U, you need to use an. The trick, as I mentioned, is on the second and third column. So if you have an adjective before your noun, then that's part of the noun phrase. So the first letter of the adjective of whatever is part of that noun phrase, that decides if we're using a or an. So a lovely pen, no change because L is a consonant, but on the far right hand side you'll see an expensive pen. Okay, pen starts with a P, but expensive starts with an E, so we use an. And in LANTITE they'll introduce much longer phrases to try and test you out. Anyway, have a look at the other vowels. So an apple, a lovely apple. So we use an with a, but as soon as we have the adjective before it, the L, and it could be an adverb and an adjective, or it could be a compound noun, but just look at the first letter. The L means we use a lovely apple. And then we go back to an expensive egg because expensive starts with an E. The same for a lovely ice cream, an expensive orange, a lovely umbrella. As we mentioned, there is one exception at the bottom. If you sounds like you, Y-O-U, we use a or a university. And we'll talk a little bit more about that at the end of this video. I don't think you'll get it. In fact, have a look at the example from ACER and you'll see what I mean. So we're using a with most letters, but an if we begin with A-E-I-O-U. So this is from Curtin University's practice materials, which are great. Question 6 from their sample test. If the sentence below contains an error, remember it's one error, which is great. Correct the error by typing the word as it should appear. Usually there's an error, but occasionally there's no error, and you write N. They're not generally trying to trick you, so usually there's an error. If you look at it and you can't find anything, okay, move on. They won't really try to hide it too much. So in this case, our sentence says the school has an extremely impressive student record. So some students just look at record and say, oh, it's okay. But as you can see, we have a noun phrase here. Extremely impressive student record. That's one idea. Extremely starts with an E, and so we need to use an extremely impressive student record. No great tricks, but if you're like me, double check this stuff. It's trying to teach proofreading as much as anything else, which is a skill some people are much better at than others. I don't think it'll be a big problem. If you see a or an, double check and you'll be fine. As I mentioned, there are a couple of exceptions. Again, I don't think LANTITE will do this. They won't really try and trick you. But sometimes you've got a consonant that sounds like, a consonant U, which sounds like U. So university, useful strategy, unique idea, a URL. But also some other consonants that sound like vowels. So when you say honest, you don't say honest. The French no doubt do, but we don't. So an honest person, an hour. You can hear the hour, not hour. an X-ray. It sounds like EX, right? X, so an X-ray. And the same with an FBI investigation. It sounds like EF. These, I think, are going down rabbit holes, and I don't think they're necessary. If you see a or an, just double check that it's correct, and you will be fine.